a court case that's relatively recent. I think it AKPTA Akta, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. If that's the how to pronounce it. So it's a decision from the Pretoria High Court. So it's Pretoria High Court is seen in quite a bit of esteem. So a lot of the courts actually follow their decisions to the T. It's like a very well laid out judgment. So before we I bore people, we're talking about case law, please get off. Let me first kind of summarize why this case is important from an eviction perspective. So there's always a lot of questions on evictions. How is it going to be done? How long does it take? Why is the process like this? How do I have to treat the occupier under these circumstances? Can I do lockouts? Can I do this? What attorney do I use? Do I even need to use an attorney, right? This is kind of the summary to all those questions. So we get all those questions all the time, and our answer to you is you need proper legal advice, because if you don't have proper legal advice, what's going to end up happening is something's going to slip through the cracks, and you're probably going to waste more time. And this is what I found, especially because evictions are so specialized, is there's always something that doesn't get asked, one service that doesn't happen. And this happens a lot, obviously, with people that aren't used to it. And our discussion today is more around letting you guys know, look, the process was actually laid out in this judgment again. So there's numerous judgments that do this, but it was laid out again. The courts are quite specific on what they require when it comes to doing an eviction. And from a legal perspective, an attorney's perspective, it seems like this court has actually emphasized our high need, like mistakes cannot be made. And I think why it's crucial to understand this is there is, and I mean, this is a perception, so I'm not saying this is a legal opinion, I'm not saying Nick shares this view as well, but from my view is that there has always been a likeness that a court is going to err on the side of caution when it comes to evictions. And the tenant losing their housing versus a landlord not being able to exercise his ownership of the property, the court will always err on the side of caution and will always favor the tenant. Now, this isn't in our law necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of considerations within the legislation. So some of it is legislated, but the reality is that even when it comes to postponements, I mean, the courts are often there and will bend over backwards to postpone. It depends on the judge, depends on the circumstances, and there's the trick to it. Depends on the circumstances. If your attorney sets things up properly, gives the right opportunity, serves the papers in a very specific way, because we've seen it. So when we serve, we go to length at serving and making sure everyone gets notice of this application. We go above and beyond. Some of the clients are like, yeah, but it's overkill. Like, why do we need 15 copies of this application? Because we want to make sure that everyone gets it. It might be overkill, but how many evictions have we gotten? Because by the time you get to court and somebody says, well, I never knew, you pull out a report where, well, I stuck it in 15 different places, across the corridors, under your door, outside the gate, there was one point of entry, there was a loudspeaker. That's the thing behind it. The courts will lean towards favoring a tenant or occupier unless the attorney has actually made every single effort and followed the processes down to the T, understanding what the courts look for. So it's just an interesting court case. The judge was quite scathing, but went point by point on the expectations of attorneys. So I think it is just important that people realize that it's not necessarily an easy process. So if you're going to undertake an eviction, do it correctly, do it right from the beginning, and remember that there are no shortcuts with evictions.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the hard situation about this particular case, I'm with you 100%, and it all comes down to justice and equitability. I mean, that's the question that we're trying to. We're trying to make sure we reach that level, that standard that's been set out for us, and the hard truth on this particular eviction. I mean, we've read the case and we can see the case numbers. This ruling came out now in July of this year. The case itself was instituted in 2019.
Yeah.
So,
3 years.
you know, when we talk to people and we say, look, you need to get an attorney who knows what they're doing on the particular, you know, in the particular circumstances. This is the reason, because unfortunately we've got, you know, you've got clients there who've done a 3-year eviction, they've got to the end, and the ruling and the judge has come back and said, well, you didn't follow the process correctly. So it's, you know, 3 years of time and who knows how much in legal fees, which the client's going to unfortunately have to pay. So really, you know, I understand always, you know, I do understand with clients, it's a hard thing to, you know, pay an attorney in order to go and do an eviction when you're already not being paid your rental income.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, and unfortunately, you know, going for a cheap attorney or for going, you know, risking it on something like that,
DIY,
really, it might hurt you at the end of the day, which is really what we don't want to see. You know, as much as we love to punt our own firms, and we love to do it, really, we also have our clients' interests at heart. And it's really hard to see, you know, where clients, you know, went through a process like this and just there's no results 3 years later. It's a hard thing to see, really.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. I agree with you. So yeah, I thought it was just an interesting one to put out there, just to show that unfortunately it's not always easy. But as long as clients kind of understand that and are aware and the expectations are managed, then at least, yeah, I don't know. Then at least I suppose we can move together with strategies and solutions and that sort of thing.